4 sailors trapped behind a sealed door, burning alive while their ship's own safety system kept them locked in. That actually happened in 2006, and the weapon that did it costs less than a new Tesla. Right now, that same weapon has shut down 20% of the world's oil supply and pushed gas prices past $5 a gallon. It's called the Noor missile. And here's the wild part. Most people have never even heard of it. Yet it's about to hit your wallet harder than anything else this year. So let me walk you through exactly how this thing works and why it matters to you. But first, you gotta understand what happened on July 14th, 2006. The Israeli warship INS Hanit was cruising off the coast of Beirut during the Lebanon War. This wasn't some rusty old vessel. It was loaded with some of the most advanced anti-missile tech on the planet. Then, out of nowhere, 2 missiles came screaming in from the Lebanese shoreline. One of them slammed straight into the Hanit. 4 sailors, Staff Sergeant Tal Amgar, Corporal Shai Atas, Sergeant Yaniv Hershkovitz, and First Sergeant Dov Steinshus were in the rear section. When the missile hit, the ship's automatic fire suppression system kicked in and sealed every door. Those 4 guys never made it out. The ship's engines were wrecked, the flight deck was on fire, and it barely limped back to port. Oh. And that second missile, it kept flying another 37 miles and sank a random cargo ship. Now, here's the part that absolutely blew everyone's mind. The Hanit had world-class missile defense systems on board, but they weren't even turned on. Why? Because Israeli commanders straight up didn't believe Hezbollah had access to this kind of weapon. The missile flew in completely unopposed. That single attack proved that a non-state group with Iranian backing could now punch at the same weight as actual militaries. So what exactly is this weapon that changed everything? The Noor is a 21-foot cruise missile that weighs around 1,575 pounds. Its warhead packs 365 pounds of armor-piercing explosives designed to punch straight through steel hulls. Depending on the version, it can hit targets anywhere from 20 to 170 miles away. And it flies at Mach 0.9, that's roughly 680 miles per hour, just under the speed of sound. But those specs alone don't explain why this thing is such a nightmare to defend against. The real magic is in how it actually flies. The Noor can launch from pretty much anywhere. Coastal trucks disguised as civilian vehicles, warships, helicopters, even fighter jets. The second it fires, a solid fuel booster kicks in and rockets it to near supersonic speed almost instantly. Once it's cruising, the booster drops off and a turbojet engine takes over. And this is where things get real sneaky. Instead of flying high where radar can spot it easily, the Noor drops down to just 65 to 100 feet above the water. At that altitude, it uses the curve of the Earth and all the sea clutter to basically vanish from ship radars. The autopilot keeps it locked on target using inertial guidance, while a radio altimeter prevents it from crashing into the waves. Then comes the final phase, and this is where it gets truly terrifying. The missile's active radar seeker switches on, scans for the target ship, and locks in for the kill. At the same time, it drops even lower, skimming just 15 to 25 feet above the water. At that altitude, at that speed, the defending ship has literally seconds to react. Iranian sources claim a 98% hit rate, and based on what we've seen in combat, that's probably not far off. When this thing connects, it's designed for maximum destruction. The armor-piercing tip punches through the hull. Steel or aluminum, doesn't matter. Then a delayed fuse detonates the main charge inside the ship, ripping it apart from within. The result is fires, flooding, destroyed engines, and a ship that's basically out of the fight even if it doesn't sink. Now, let's talk about why this matters to you right now. Since late February 2026, Iran has effectively shut down the Strait of Hormuz. At least 16 ships have been hit, and traffic through the strait has dropped by 90%. The Noor and its upgraded variants like the Qadr and Gadir are behind all of it. Here's why that should freak you out a little. 20 million barrels of oil flow through that strait every single day. That's 20% of the world's supply. Oil prices have already blown past $100 a barrel, the highest in nearly 4 years. In California, gas is over $5 a gallon and still climbing. The IEA just announced they're releasing 400 million barrels from emergency reserves. That's the biggest coordinated drawdown since the agency was created. Back in 1974, we're talking historic levels here. But here's what most people don't realize. It's not just about oil. 85% of Middle Eastern polyethylene exports go through that strait. That means shortages in packaging, car parts, consumer goods, basically everything you buy at the store. One third of global fertilizer trade also passes through Hormuz, and planting season is right around the corner. If these shipments stay blocked, food prices are about to get really ugly. So the obvious question is, why doesn't someone just take out these missiles? Well, this is where Iran's strategy gets seriously clever. They know they can't go toe to toe with the US Navy in a conventional fight, and honestly, they're not even trying. Instead, they've dumped resources into missiles, drones, fast attack boats, and sea mines, weapons that are cheap to build, easy to hide, and absolutely devastating when launched in swarms. A single Noor costs a tiny fraction of what a ship's defensive systems run. Fire enough of them at once, and even the most advanced defenses can get overwhelmed. And here's the geography problem. The Strait of Hormuz is only about 20 miles wide at its narrowest point. That's basically a shooting gallery for anyone with coastal missile batteries. And Iran has thousands of them lined up along the shore, even with US Navy escorts. Military experts say you simply cannot stop every single missile. One hit on a tanker, and insurance companies pull coverage from the entire region overnight. Ship crews refuse to sail, and that's when global markets really start spiraling. So, what's the bottom line here? The Noor isn't the most advanced anti-ship missile out there, not by a long shot. It's not hypersonic, it doesn't have cutting-edge stealth tech, nothing fancy like that. But here's the thing, it doesn't need any of that because it's reliable, accurate, and dirt cheap to mass produce. In the tight waters of the Persian Gulf, where ships have literally nowhere to run, it's a total game changer. This weapon proves something that a lot of military planners still don't want to accept. In modern warfare, you don't need the biggest guns or the fanciest tech to win. You just need the right weapon, in the right place, at the right time, right now. Iran has thousands of these missiles positioned along its coastline, loaded and ready to fire. The question isn't whether they'll use them again, they already are. The real question is, how much more are you willing to pay at the pump before this whole thing finally ends? Because every time you fill up your tank, you're feeling the impact of a weapon most people have never even heard of. That's the reality we're all living in right now.